Hey. Hey, 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 hey. Black excellence, black beauty, and black pride. Black power from all diasporas coincide. Progressive truth and regression eventually collide. May the beauty of the people no longer be set aside. May the black queen's grace continually mesmerize the millions who couldn't see it when looking into her eyes. And the black man's plight no longer be the disguise. Oppression, emasculation, they wanna castricize him. Take him away from the black queen, put him inside prison for slave labor, he institutionalized. Wondering on the outside, is she willing to ride? Is she willing to ride? Is she willing to fight for the love, even despite the fact that he doing time? Love that conquers all will never fade with time. If she don't choose the love that appreciates every life, his flame might get dim and he may eventually.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Urban Impact Show. I am one of your hosts, Rob Johnson, and I am joined by a group of black men that's going to be in here as we kick off these conversations. Shout out to all of you all. Please, at this time, take a moment real quick, start to share this video, share the video, because we want to make sure that we are having these types of conversations all throughout our city and wherever else we can go. Last week we talked about a whole bunch of just hot topics and stuff like that, and so this week we wanted to come back and we're going to be talking about all things black men. So what does that mean? That means that we're going to be covering a whole gambit worth of stuff: community, relationships, fatherhood. We're going to be talking about money, mental health, all of that stuff. We're going to be talking about all of that. So do me a favor, go ahead on and share this video, because it's time for us to start talking about the male perspective. So I do want to preface this conversation by saying this: you may not like everything you hear, you may not agree, or you may disagree, but whatever it is, let's have respectful dialogue. I know a lot of people are going to be in the chats, so let's remain respectful of each other. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. And without further ado, I want to go ahead on and kick this thing off and get these fellas introduced. So we're going to start on the end, work our way this way for the introduction, and then we'll get the conversation going in this little barbershop conversation we get ready to have on the Urban Impact Show. So I'm going to toss it off to you, sir.
Hello. My name is Joshua V. Barr. I am here in Des Moines, currently the Director of Civil and Human Rights until July 23rd.
He's for the record, he's letting everybody know that that's coming to an end. All right, my man.
All right, I'm Dominique Davidson. I work at Athene. I've been in Des Moines my whole life.
Mr. Dom in the building. And to you, sir.
Like I need to say my middle initial too.
After Josh.
My name is Louis H. Fountain. I'm the Director of Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging for the Johnston Community School District.
Shouts out. Hey, so we have all different types of things with these black men here, all different types of backgrounds. People who grew up here, people who didn't grow up here. Shout out to Matt, who's engineering this. Thank you so much for being behind the camera. Appreciate that. So let's go ahead on and kick this off, y'all. This whole I would say 18, 19 months since 2020 has been one for the books. I mean, would y'all agree with that?
Definitely.
It's been crazy. And now there's this trend that I'm thinking is like, man, like this should have been happened. We've been trying to make this happen for a while. Support black owned businesses, shop black stuff, buy black stuff, black culture. So there's this whole trend around the black culture. So my question to y'all, I want to throw this out, is where are the black men in this? Are we being supportive? Are we out there enough? What all do we need to do? What's going on with the black men? You know, there's this stigma that we're not around. Like can we you know what? We're gonna start with my boy. Let's start with you, Lewis. We're gonna go to Josh and then come to you, Don. Where are we in this?
First things first, I think we are around. I think that of course the media try to portray that we're not around. I say all the time, I have plenty of friends, right, that look like me, and they all take care of their kids. They all have jobs. They all go out and run. Some are vegans, right? Some.
We trying to think.
No, what I'm trying to say is they're well versed in many things. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter, right? And you know, some plant, right? They plant their own food. I mean, there's so many of us that's doing so many different things, but you know, you let the media tell it we're not taking care of our children. We're all locked up. We're doing drugs. We are, you know, committing crimes. And it's like, come on, man. Like, that narrative has to stop. And I think what we need to do more of as black men is show our face. You know, a lot of times we just kind of just sit back in the cut. We do our jobs. We go home, take care of our families, and that's that. And I think what we need to do is come out more, right? You see, our black women lead a lot. Yeah. And I think what we have to do, you know, is start to lead more and be confident in that.
Josh, throwing off to you.
All right. Well, you know, first of all, I'll just say, you know, we need to co-lead. I mean, I think we need to lead with them. It's not one or the other. It's we go together.
Amen.
And nobody's behind, nobody's in front. We are walking together in this. And for me, there's really no competition. If another gentleman is winning, I'm winning. If another female is winning, I'm winning. And I think now, in light of the pandemic, now has been this is the time of great change. They have something called the Great Resignation, where a lot of people are leaving their jobs and they're going to find something that really speaks to their heart and soul. Yeah. So what our role can be in that, in two ways. One is what Lewis talked about, and just being a guide, just guiding young people in the right way, changing that narrative, helping people find their talents, their passions, their skills, and knowing that life isn't about a job. Life is about really living, but living your purpose, self-actualizing, finding what's inside of you so you can give it back to the community. So we're here. I think, you know, if you look, at least in this community, you see a lot of new, black businesses getting started, What the Fries, etc. I don't want to throw out shout outs to everybody because I don't know everybody. I don't miss somebody. So, hey, you forgot about me. But there are a lot of
show say it too.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, people out there, because the goal really is, in a capitalist system, we be honest, we got to teach people how to build wealth, but we also got to teach them how to transform the system so in a way that it benefits us. And like Lewis said, you know, our role in that is to help guide and lead, utilizing our lessons, the things that we've learned, and be out there up front, you know, with our women, working to create a better community for all of our children so they can have more opportunities than we had.
Dom, where we at?
I think we're right there. So it's always, to me, there's always been black business that we've been supporting. When you go with hair shop, you know, barber shop, we're in those. Now we're getting with the food trucks. I get it. And I just hope that I'm more with the black culture part. That's what I want to see, that bigger push. Because I figure if that push is bigger, like, I went to elementary school and there was like 7 black people in my class. So black history was Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King,
Malcolm X.
Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and then they skip a few years, and now it's Barack Obama. That wasn't it. They don't talk about Malcolm.
So I feel like the cultural push would be the best thing to help the kids. Like, and even with the all the black businesses, if we could get back into our own community, I always feel like we're looking outside.
Right.
So I mean, all us men there, like, I feel like Loufield, all my buddies take care. We don't play that. I don't have any friends that's not taking care of their kids, else they'll be associates. So you're not gonna be my friend if you're not a good dad. Those don't go together.
So in past histories, have we failed? Have we took a step back and allowed somebody else to take our place in our own communities? Have we failed?
I wouldn't call it failure. I can't. And I say that because we're a part of a system. And when you're in a system, this is a system that bull-bucked us, took us on ships, brought us over here, and tried to hold us down. And the only person they gave freedom to do anything was particularly our women. They had much more freedom than we did. So we're still just climbing back to proclaim something that was lost and was taken from us. So we can't say that we failed. Now sometimes we do drop the ball. But we haven't failed because we're trying to come back for our upcomings, and so I wouldn't call it a failure. Definitely wouldn't paint it with that kind of broad brush. I think the thing is, in regards to reclaiming what was lost, is we can't get caught up in the system because we've been fed certain narratives that simply aren't true, and to break away from those narratives, we have to unlearn all these negative stereotypes that we were taught. We got to change what we eat and what we listen to and what we watch and what we read. And until we do that, we're not going to come all the way up, but we're going to keep climbing. And I think having conversations like these and engaging outside of these spaces and continuing to uplift one another is a good thing. I mean, I can say, at least for the two brothers on the end, when they call me, I'm there. Like so, and that's about that support. We also got to be there for y'all youngins as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm not at work, so I can talk about House File 802, right? Yeah. And I can talk about systematic racism, and I can talk about things that we haven't. I continuously talk about putting our people in the best position to be successful. Yeah. Especially our young people, right? So if they don't really know where they came from, if they don't really know some of the challenges that we've had, right, and those past mistakes, it's gonna happen again. So that's the reason why Iowa don't want us to talk about it, to be quite honest, because if I leave it out, if I don't have to talk about it, guess what? Then you don't know, and that same cycle can continue. That's just the fact of the matter. So I'm even having to be, I have to do these classes still and have to talk about systematic racism without saying systematic racism. So you do the math on that, even though it's systematic racism. Yeah. And it's like, why don't we like this language? We don't like the language because we don't like to be held, like certain people don't want to be held responsible for what has happened. Yes, and that's not them personally, but we talking about as a system. Yeah. We talking about as a country. So at the end of the day, we just don't like that language, Rob, but it is what it is.
And this goes far beyond whether you are a Democrat or Republican. True. Man, this goes beyond whether you're conservative or liberal, man. Like, this goes. So somebody said to me the other day, they said, Rob, why don't y'all talk about, and they said y'all as in black folks, and particularly black men, why don't y'all talk about the violence that is happening in the communities, right? And so I said, wait a minute, y'all. I said, we talk about it more than y'all think we talk about it. Because just because on the news, they always got one of us on there talking about the racism, doesn't mean that the other conversations about how do we help our community. Dom and I was on the phone arguing about a week ago at midnight. Yep. At midnight, talking about how do we save our young black men in our community. Am I lying, Dom? Nope. We was literally, I was literally whispering.
I had a couple of them conversations with Dom before. I'm gonna do something.
Yeah. I'll bring it. And people, and one thing I love about the guys that are sitting right here, one thing I love about it is all of us can disagree and walk out of here and be like, you know what? That's still my guy. Mm-hmm. Like, we ain't gonna get on social media and bash one another and talk about one another, even if we disagree. Because
and we have, bro.
We have. Josh and I have disagreed when the whole protest and stuff happened. We disagreed on how to handle it, how to go forward. Right? Josh had one idea. I had one idea. Josh came out there with a clipboard,
a whiteboard, a flip chart. He was ready.
He came out there, and I'm looking at Josh. I said, what are we gonna do with this? They throwing rocks. And he said, and Josh said, Rob, we gonna talk. And I said, all right, Josh. You know what I'm saying? We were in clear disagreement on this, right? But guess what? Every one of us, it took all of us to step in there. It took every single one of us. Go ahead, Doctor.
So when you said, did we fail? I don't think we failed. Well, it's more like Josh said, maybe drop the ball. I just feel in our community that you see Lou, you see other brothers like, I'll shout them out, Gene Jewett. There's a couple out there that the youth look up to. I just feel like if more of us could get into the community, which a lot of times is through sports, but I know there's other stuff. Like I got homeboys that's mechanics. Why can't y'all go pick up 12 little dudes, teach them how to change a tire, change some oil? I just feel like the black man part of the community is missing. When I was getting raised, I was raised by my grandparents. My grandpa was that man. You can get in trouble with your dad. You still have to go holler at grandpa. Like he was gonna teach you everything. Like I feel that's the only part we're missing. It got replaced with maybe with the media. It's replaced with LeBron and Jay-Z and the money, and that's how they look at success is big money. It's no more looked at success as the man that was a janitor for 30 years and raised 3 generations of kids and owns a house. That's not success to the young people. We're not listening to them anymore. He don't have enough money. I got more money than the old dudes.
Well, I tell brothers all the time. They're like, "Well, Lou, how do you know so many kids?" Or X, Y, Z. It's like, yo, I just infiltrated systems.
Literally.
Like, if you don't infiltrate these systems and get some of these jobs where our kids are at and need us most, that cycle gonna continue too. Yeah. So all the kids I know wasn't because I was just volunteering at the park. It's because I was part of these systems that they was in that I knew they weren't being treated fairly. I knew. They didn't have nobody that looked like them, in these systems. I don't care if it was detention or whatever have you. But I didn't do nothing special per se, right? It was, I cared about them. Yeah. Just made it simple.
True.
What's the question? I mean, I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm diving into what they talk about.
Well, let's switch real quick because you brought up a good point. The grandma and the grandpa type of relationship is no longer there anymore, right? Right? We can agree on that. So black men right now are statistically speaking are struggling when it comes to relationships, right? Black men are struggling when it comes to relationships. Why do y'all think that is? What's going on? Are we not getting what we need from our partners? Are we not being emotionally fulfilled? What's missing? What are we missing?
I can start with that one. I don't think that's it at all, Rob.
Okay.
I remember, I was married before for 12 years. I never saw a healthy marriage prior to that, though. Nobody in my family was married. I was like one of the first people in my family to get married, generational, right? So even for what I've learned to try to even know how to be a good husband was what I felt like was just doing opposite of what I saw. One, or just, I would talk to a couple of the deacons at the church or whatever have you. But it wasn't like I went through this generational process of healthy marriages and healthy relationships and how to communicate and how to pray and how to do things, a different way. I was learning on the fly. Yeah. And a lot of times I failed, to be quite honest. So, I mean, before we even get to the actual relationship part of it, how to talk to your spouse, what to do, how to be equally yoked, X, Y, Z, we talking about even generational, trauma and things like that, dealing with, within the black community and relationships and marriages or whatever have you.
But I think part of it, too, is just really, a lot of people are waiting for someone to make them whole. We got to get out of the R&B Disney romance way of relationship. That's not a real relationship. To make you happy. Yeah, no. You got to come in.
You got to come in happy.
You got. It's two whole people coming together to build something beautiful together. Yeah, it's not about one person. Oh, you're my Prince Charming. Nah, girl, there ain't no more royalty other than in England. No. Yeah. I mean, we got to get real about relationships, and when you get caught up in a fantasy of what love is supposed to be rather than the reality, because here's the thing. I know females who want a certain thing, and I ask them, do any of your friends have it? No. Did your mom and daddy have it? No. So why do you think you're gonna get it? Like, relationships is about two people with different personalities, different desires, and some of them are the same, but that's coming together to create something new and beautiful. So we got to break out of that R&B. I grew up with New Edition, Bobby Brown, Keith Sweat, Jagged Edge,
112.
We got to break that.
Montel Jordan,
that's fantasy. That's just a fantasy. We got to get real.
Selling records,
and we got to understand that one of the key parts of relationship is having a companion. Someone that's going to listen to you, to stimulate your mind, strengthen your spirit, be that shoulder you can lean on and be vulnerable. Because a lot of times because we live in this fantasy world, we can't even express how we really feel to a woman because then you ain't a man.
Then you start,
And so,
you thirsty.
So we gotta.
You can't even really tell how you really feel.
Because we get caught up in a fantasy.
Or she gonna tell all her homegirls and tell all your business. Fact. You gotta hear your business in the street.
So we got to break these perceptions and get real. And when you look back, you talked about grandma and grandpa. That's the key part. Because grandma and grandpa were real.
Yeah.
That was a real relationship. Yeah. There wasn't no flowers all the time. But grandpa put in work. He did. He let grandma know she got him. And guess what grandma did? Grandma had his back too.
Sweat equity.
That was a real relationship.
Yep.
There wasn't no fantasy. They wasn't. I mean, they might have listened to the Temptations and the Four Tops too, but they knew that was just something they did. When they went to the juke joint or whatever.
Right, that was a record.
Yeah, right. That was a record. That wasn't reality.
Dom?
So the way I see it, I mean, my perspective is different because I met my wife when I was 16.
And you got the most kids, though.
And I got 5 kids. Yeah.
Dom met at the lunch table in third grade.
Yeah, y'all got jokes. Okay. But I was like, Lou, I only seen my grandma and grandpa married. I never, like, my mom had different husbands. I didn't see that. So with me being married now going on 13 years, I'm like right behind my great uncle and my grandparents. So you got, like, nobody's teaching us. Like, we're teaching ourselves. So
And congratulations too on the new one.
thank you.
Dom just had a baby.
Thank you.
Hey.
Little Mr. Jameson at home. So, like, nobody's teaching us. I remember as I was about to get married, my grandfather passed before I could get enough knowledge as I was going through a marriage to rectify mistakes. So now I got real cool with my father-in-law. I go to ask him because, half the problem is, like y'all said, it's the fantasy.
Yeah.
Girl, you don't need him. All he make is 36,000. You could do better. You could do bad all by yourself.
He ain't got no man.
Thank you.
Ain't no money.
Y'all only she got, and I say with other things, I say it to my sisters when they start referring to, oh, I'm the baby mom. I said, don't say that.
No.
That's already putting you in like a bad situation that's not showing the kids baby mom, baby dad. My baby dad, no, don't do that. Like the whole family thing has to be there. So the way I do it, I look at my father-in-law like real questions. Like,
Now who your father-in-law?
Dr. Ben Bay.
There you go.
Yeah. So he preaches it all the time. He been with the same woman this whole time. He since losing just always. I think they 30-something years in.
So my question is, if we can't seem to come out of this fantasy world, how do we get better? Because it's like this. Black men struggling in relationships because they can't be vulnerable and talk about what's really going on, what's happening. And look, they gonna have bad days. Every day is not going to be a good day. You know what? I'm irritated today.
Yes.
And can you chill for a moment, right? And just relax and let me have this.
Let's keep it 100, Rob.
Go ahead.
We was at your sister house.
We
was at Rob's sister house.
Here we go.
And because black folks don't go to therapy, which they should.
Thank you. I be telling people all the time they could do
The one thing we don't even do is have therapeutic conversations with each other as a group.
Ooh, and we did at Joppa house.
And we did that at your sister house.
Yep.
And we talked about all topics.
We did.
Nothing was off limits.
Nothing.
It was respectful. We hugged, laughed. There might have been a few tears even. Some people's feelings might have been a little hurt on the low. But it was a therapeutic conversation.
It was.
I mean, some of the things that we talked about, it was like, I needed to get that out. I wanted a female perspective on that. A lot of times we don't get, right? Sometimes you don't want to call your sister and tell her all your business.
That's true.
Or, I want a different perspective. And I think when we talk about what we're missing, it's just that. How many times do you have a group of brothers just talk, let's sit around and just talk? Except in the barbershop, and we ain't really talking how we need to talk in there.
Right.
So it's like, how many times do we just
There's a lot of testosterone in the body.
Let's just
you don't want
talk.
to show that like, oh, I've been sad.
No, I mean, I called somebody like recently, like 2 weeks ago. Somebody was like, how's the job going? I get that question so much. And I'll be ready to like snap sometimes. And I had to keep it real. I was like, yo, lonely.
Yeah.
Like, I'm lonely. I've never been this lonely. like sitting at work just lonely, man.
Yeah.
Like doing my job, but
I
it's
know
like
the feeling. Rob
lonely.
left me at the theme by myself.
Rob left
We
me.
ain't gonna talk about that.
Yeah, and I'm sure Josh felt that. Maybe that's why he's not there no more. When you just lonely, you by yourself. You right? Rob, I'm sure Rob felt that. Yeah, you just like, I'm just dolo. I can't.
It's real.
And I got to put 10 toes down at all times because everybody watching me.
Well, I brought this up to Rob, like to have, other than on the show, those type of conversations
He
with
has.
different people. I was like, bring us some pastors,
Multiple
bring us some
times.
police
I said,
officers.
I want to do that.
And
Man. Let's have a cigar, some scotch. If you drink water, just drink your water.
No camera.
Yeah.
Let it out.
Right.
Let the hood dude talk one way.
Yeah.
See
Yeah.
if we can. Cause
You want to do you over there.
We've allowed so many things to come in, and we struggle in relationships. Good days and bad days, and then on top of that, you're trying your best to be the man that your people raised. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes it feels unappreciated, it feels looked over, and you feel disrespected. And it's like, and it's like, I'm alluding to the conversation we had at my sister's house. I'd rather feel respected than loved.
yeah, they're about the same.
You know what I'm saying?
That was a great debate right there.
that was.
Josh, it was a great debate. Would you rather feel respected and loved? And all the men said one thing,
Respected.
and all the women said the total
Josh,
opposite.
would you rather be respected or loved
In a relationship?
in a relationship?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Tough. It's tough.
I might change my answer, but I'm gonna go with what my first inclination was. First I'll say this: love is an action word. So love is not just a feeling. I mean, because you can say I love you all day, but if you don't put that behind it, it means nothing.
I mean, no.
So when you really love somebody, you respect them anyway. So I gotta go with love because when it's real, when love is real, not when love is
real.
fantasy. When it's real, it's gonna be respect because love is patient. Love is kind. I mean,
Love the fruits of the spirit, Josh. You better spit them fruits.
So I'm going with love. I'm going with love. Real love, not fantasy love. And just on that fantasy tip, how do we break that fantasy, Rob? I think one of the key things is, and this is the way I grew up. Most men tried to lead by example, and they didn't really give us the talks that we needed. I had some talk, but I never had the talk.
But was it the real talk?
Yeah, I've had a few talks. My dad had me and my dad, but it was a forced conversation where I had to force it on him. And that's a long story. I ain't gonna get into that. But most men just, they did their job. They tried to provide. They did what they knew from the generation before them. And they never really talked. At least at least from where I'm coming from, I never really had talks on what it means to be a man. I got it. Some of it you'll understand when you're older.
Come on.
Yeah, but I don't want to understand what I'm telling you now.
It's not Rocky.
So I can look out for the roadblocks and understand those things. So one way to break the fantasy is by having the conversation.
Talks.
And understanding it's a conversation with the people behind us, with the people that are walking with us in the same age, and then and people that are still ahead of us, our elders, and understanding what they did and what recommendations do they have. And I'm not going to always agree with the people here, and I may not always agree with my elders, but I'm always going to have a level of respect because you're a different person with a different background and upbringing, etc.
Okay. So we're talking when y'all say love and respect. When you were saying, "Oh, I give this and I don't feel this," so me and my wife went to a class. Before COVID, we was going every year. One, it was teaching everybody love languages. That was so important. I didn't know.
You know yours? Okay, my man.
But if you don't know, that's instant beef with your lady.
And if you don't know theirs.
Yeah. Oh, I'm bringing her flowers. Why she ain't doing this for me?
She want
That's
words of
not her
affirmation.
language.
She want words.
That's not how hers works. So I learned it that way.
Like you know all of them.
I know them all. I read the book 3 times.
I know them all.
And then it was that, and then it was like the big problem is communication.
Oh man,
because nobody wants to. It's how it was broke down. Men are like, we're fixers. So my woman come in, my wife come in, tell me something. I'm going straight to a solution.
yeah.
You don't like this, you don't like that? Cut her off, block her. She ain't your friend, but she just want me to listen. It took years, and then it even took talking to my father-in-law, like, ask her. So now she get to talking about, hey, you want me to just listen? Yeah, that made it so much easier. Now I'm just listening without coming up with the man's solution.
And that's, but relationships, I say relationships always bring out your weakness. I mean, if your weakness is humility, get in a relationship.
Yeah.
Right? And
She
not,
gonna humble
and not,
you like crazy.
yeah, because you're gonna be put in positions where it's like, yo, you're used to reacting, and now you just have to be quiet and listen.
Yep.
Are you used to, I'm used to just doing what I want to do, right? Now I'm having to answer to someone or whatever have you. So I always say, you get in a relationship, now you start to learn more about yourself.
Yes.
And how and what you need to work on and what you need to grow.
I said that, because when I was married for 7 years, and when the divorce happened, I said, what about me made this go bad?
Come on,
right?
Rob.
I said, what about me stopped this the way that it did, right? And it was a true moment of reflection of like, and honestly, y'all know me, I had to talk to God. I was like, what are you trying to show me about me?
Yeah.
Because if I take this into the next relationship, it's gonna have the same result as this one did. And but here's also what I do know, y'all, is women got to be able to love you past these weak moments too. Like I was talking to my sister, and I was like, I think a lot, and this is just my opinion, feel free to disagree, y'all, but I said I think a lot of men, that love for those who had their mom in their life, that love that you got from your mom is like the love that you look for sometimes in a mate, not the same love.
If it was a single mom house, that's a different thing too. It's a different love with that single mom house, no daddy in the house. That love is all you can. I expect that. I didn't have the dad, so when I first got with my wife, I wanted her to be like my mom without knowing she was being like my mom. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, because my mom was there. I was raised by my grandparents.
Yeah.
So I was searching for a mom's love in my spouse.
Wow.
That wasn't working.
Yo, that's an unpopular opinion.
That's deep.
Baby Boy, one of the greatest movies ever.
Yep.
Unpopular opinion.
I definitely disagree with that.
Let me tell you why, y'all. Yo, Baby Boy has so many gems.
Jody.
There's so many gems between the mom and their son relationship, and how single mom, and how single moms, right, have been put in position to try to raise men that really aren't men.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But they've been put in that position because that's the only position, So now that's your son and your man.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you? But the question though, y'all, is can they love us past our faults, right? Like, can you love me beyond the fact that sometimes I may have an attitude, or I may leave socks on the floor?
Depends on their circle.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Depends on their circle.
What we talking about with the circle?
If they're all married women, they got some OGs in that circle, girl, that ain't nothing. That's a good man. He do this. If you got the girls that's like, girl, that brother across the street cuter than Rob anyway. He never leave his socks anyway. He got more money if you already getting the.
Let's celebrate, cheating on them and all of this other stuff.
Now, what kind of women y'all know? Yeah, good guy. I think I've transcended past that now.
You have transcended past it, but not even so much. Yeah, I think once you're married and you're in a healthy marriage and you've left family and friends too, Josh, I think you do have opportunity to grow your relationship a lot more. Right? When I moved to Iowa and I didn't have family or friends here, and it was just us, right? You just have to rely on each other.
And that's a test too.
And that is the test.
That's the test.
Right? You talk about COVID, that's COVID 365 for 5-6 years before I had family here. Right. So I think, at the end of the day, your circle. All four of us have a circle, like our females, I'm sure, have circles where that's not even a problem. But I'm saying in general, even if they get advice, if it's not godly advice.
Yeah, I think, but Rob, you made a point when you talked about, like, your divorce and really, what things that you bring into the relationship that may have caused
Yeah.
And I think that's a good point. I think, you got to really know yourself so you don't bring that into the next relationship. I think even with myself, now that I'm a little older, but I've definitely made mistakes in love, thinking that, I'm holding on to this person so I can keep this part of my personality that may be lost. But again, I think part of it is really understanding who you are. And if you don't understand you, and then you don't understand how that person that you're about to build this relationship can collaborate and make you stronger, not better. Because I'm pretty sure everybody in here can talk about somebody they've dated that's made them worse.
Come on, John.
I think I can testify. If any women I've ever dated is watching this, I made you better in some shape.
Come on, John. I upgraded you. Upgrade. You say you upgraded him, John.
I'm being dead serious.
John's talking like he long in the tooth over there.
So,
long in the tooth.
But because the thing I'm trying to say is my job is not to make you what I want you to be. I want you to be who you are, so we can grow together.
Come on, John.
Yeah. And so, and that's the thing. So when you're looking in a relationship, don't say, yo, she bad. I mean, of course that's natural. I mean, there's an attraction,
right?
But you got to go beyond the physical, into the spiritual, into the substantive, something that can raise your being. And that's the problem in relationships now. And again, we're in a system where we are being fed certain signals, and in those signals, we're just focusing on that outer beauty. But the temptation said beauty is only skin deep. Yeah. And I think we got to teach that, because she may be bad and you may be bad as the male, but at the same time, it's going to fade away. And you're going to be around each other. Sometimes, eventually, that physical attraction may wane. But if you got that spiritual connection, if you have that mental connection, you have all these other connections where you're growing and doing things together. I mean, you can really grow and prosper.
For those of you, I'm so sorry, Louis. For those of you who are watching, you're watching the Urban Impact Show. We have 3 black men on as our guest. One who will be coming back as joining us as a host of this show. We're super excited. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we get back, we're gonna finish this conversation around relationships, and then we're gonna switch to financial and mental health, because we want to make sure that we're talking about that as well, because money make the world go round.
Speak on it.
Shout out to Matt. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. We'll see you in about 1 minute.
You got theme music.
And we are back. Thank y'all so much for hanging in there with us. I feel like we have talked about so much in this time, but I feel like there's so much more that is being unsaid that we definitely got to jump into. We've talked about community, relationships, and all of this great stuff.
Start to talk about that petition I'm gonna start for Josh to stay.
I got you.
Stay in his current role.
No, he's so much bigger than his current role.
Uh-oh.
And truth be told, I think his current role limited him with things he wanted to say and do.
Speaking of that, don't y'all think? Let's jump to financial.
Okay.
Because I think some people are limited because of where we find ourselves financially as a community. Yeah. Like when we talk about voting and all of this other stuff, I remember Big Al and I was out on the road, and this lady had just got off of work. She was leaving Hy-Vee, and I said, "Hey, ma'am, can I get you to register to vote?" She said, she looked at me and she said, "I got to get over to Casey's so that I can start my second job on time. I don't have time to register to vote. I don't have time to sit there and take the time that y'all need for me to do what y'all need to do." She was like, her exact comments were, "Find somebody to help me pay these bills, then I'll get out here and I'll get out here and register to vote." So where are we financially? Josh, I'll start with you because I know you've been working on some stuff. Where are we financially, and how like what's going on? Like, can we get better?
So I think the first thing we have to understand is number one, we live in a capitalist system where the capital is king, dollar is king, and if you really want to have influence of any sort, you need to have individual capital, but you also need to have collective capital. And collective capital is where people in your community, like you, have that financial sway to really influence people. You know, one of the key things I say, if you want the police to, stop profiling our communities, to have enough money, enough people to go down to City Hall and say, "Stop it." And they'd be like, "Oh, shoot, they got money." Yeah. I mean, and money talks. And I think that's true. And one of the struggles that we've had, and again, this is a systemic issue, and this is stuff they don't want us to talk about, but that's why we need to talk about it. And in that systemic racism and this system that we swim in, at first we were property, and then we got freed 1865, and then they said that now there's nothing that separates me and the nigger but the almighty dollar, and I will make I would get as much out of him paying him as less as possible. That's a real quote from a South Carolina planter. And so we have been on the low end of trying to trying to ask for, treating us fair with a minimum wage, et cetera. But there's a deeper level. And I think we have to dive in, and there's a whole education that we aren't being taught that communities that don't look like us, the European communities, are getting. And that's when we talk about real estate investment. That's when we talked about stocks and bonds and learning to build compound interest. And collectively, we are not there. And I have to keep saying collectively because occasionally you get somebody, well, what about Oprah? That's one person.
That's one person.
That's one person. I mean, we're trying to build a collective movement where all of us have the right and the ability to move up the socioeconomic ladder. Because again, when you don't have that economic sway, states like Georgia and Texas can change the law so you can't vote no more. So we got to build that capital, and we have to own these businesses, control these businesses, and also create new businesses based on where we are. And so where we are, essentially right after the Civil War, we had 10 cents to every dollar that European American families have. And guess where we are today? We got 10 cents to every family, European American dollar. So we got to do something different. It ain't just about working hard. We have to work smart. And working smart is understanding mutual funds and investing in Vanguard and letting that money build over time. And if you do it right, and you slowly put money into Vanguard stock mutual funds, 20 years, you're a millionaire. Now, of course, that's slow money. But it's
still
money. Everybody want that instant thing, and I'm a hustler and want the fast money. But But most persons I know that run after fast money, their lives really come crashing down pretty fast too. So
my mama say fast, plain talk make a plain understanding route. So I'm gonna go a different route too. I think we can't be stingy with knowledge. We can't be stingy with time. We can't get into certain positions and now think we're better and not be able to go volunteer at the park now because you're the director of such and such. It's like, yo. And I think that's what happens. And I think it happens more frequently here than I have when I lived in Atlanta or when growing up in Philly, we didn't know who had X, Y, and Z. We was all in the same space. Yeah. It's like here we work hard to move out of Des Moines.
To separate. Yeah.
To say that we go to Ankeny now, right?
Yes.
And it's part of like a badge of honor. Like I'm the new black.
Yeah.
And instead of saying,
I'm holding the whip now.
Yeah, like I used to feel some type of way. Like, yo, you could actually we could all go to the same school here and become a dynasty. Like, why wouldn't we?
Exactly.
That is crazy to me.
Yeah. All of us.
But no, I'm going to go to Darling because now I feel like I've made it. Like, you ain't made nothing. And you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we're so much better together.
Right.
And we haven't figured out that concept yet.
And the thing is, the key thing people need to understand is you didn't make it to that position you got by yourself. There are people who struggled, fought, taught you. I mean, from the past to the present, guided you and got you in that position. And the first thing you want to do when you get up, pull the ladder up so nobody else can get there. I mean, that's crazy. And the thing is, and the crazy thing about it is a person in my position is I see people who kind of do that, and then when the system flips on them and they want to push them out, they call me, hey, what can I do? They call Ron Johnson's and the Lewis Foundation. Hey, what do we do about that, man? This is unfair.
We need to figure this out.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, even Michael Jackson did that. Al Sharpton spoke one time. He talked about Sony being a racist against him. I mean, you can't pull yourself away from the community and then call on the community when the times are hard. I mean, you got to understand, you did not do any of this by yourself
at all.
None of it.
So when I see financial, when you talk about financial, it's new to me. Like, I'm not super rich. I'm still learning. So when Lou says don't hold out the knowledge, I feel like that's what I was missing. I didn't know anything about financial literacy because the way my grandpa came up, he went to Vietnam, came home, GI Bill, no credit, worked at the Packer house, boom, buy the house with the money. And that's how it used to work. Seeing it don't work that way now, we need the financial literacy. Like, if it's not going to be me, I need to teach my two sons. I need to teach my daughter. So that's the part that's missing because we just see the people come up. And then, like you say, and then we also... Other than Akao's the only person I've seen get money and stay in that neighborhood and redo and build his house big right there so everybody can see. Everybody else get money, and like you say, I'm in Ankeny, I'm in Johnston, far away I can get from y'all brothers that's supposedly acting up. So then the only person they see in their community getting money is the people that's hustling.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
live wherever you want to live. I mean, I just want to say that. Live wherever you want to live, but do it for the right reasons. Don't now I got a new check, so now I feel as though I have to leave the community.
But again, I think part of this is really systemic because my parents were a part of the integration generation. Yeah. Because my parents were 18 in 1968 when the Fair Housing Act passed and you couldn't discriminate against where people lived anymore. And there were so many times that they were always taught that what they got is better. And so when those floodgates when the floodgates opened up, they ran for it, and they left a lot of people behind. And they left a lot of people behind in the communities who weren't as well off, who didn't get those opportunities, etc. And we still doing that. I mean, what we talking about is that's still happening in some shape, form, or fashion today. And I do agree with Lua. I mean, we got to teach the next generation because there's so many things. I mean, even the financial literacy I have now is something I've learned over the past 5 years, just reading and studying like crazy.
YouTube.
And yeah, I mean, it's there. It's right there. But we got to reach for it. But there's so many distractions and so many things blocking us and so many people trying to take advantage of us too. And that's been historical. People trying to take advantage of these get rich quick schemes. If it's quick, it ain't real.
One thing I learned, and then we're going to switch to mental health and close out. One thing I learned when Dom and I was working together is there are ways that folks are getting money legally that we have no idea.
No clue.
Like literally this, I'm going to say this guy took out a $10,000 annuity He went to the bank, said, hey, I want to borrow against this annuity. The bank said, okay, gave him another 10,000. Went to another bank, said, hey, I want to borrow against the 10,000 that I just got from another bank. They gave him another 10,000. By the time this man was done, he on paper, he looked like this phrase that people that a lot of people hear nowadays, an accredited investor. And all he had originally was $10,000.
And it's 100% legal.
100% legal. And guess what? All he had. So for those who don't know, an accredited investor, you in certain spaces you have to have 50,000. Certain spaces you got to have 100,000. Certain spaces you got to have $1 million. It all depends on the company or the buying company, whichever stock that you're trying to buy. By the time this man was done, he looked like an accredited investor on paper.
But Rob, imagine playing Monopoly, you don't know the rules.
And then guess what? Now, as an accredited investor, more doors opened up for him to get money to pay back the 10 grands from the other
And make money off that.
And you said the thing about Monopoly, which is true. You know, we are either you're a player or you're a pawn, and a lot of us have been pawns because we don't know the rules. And a lot of us been held back from that dollar. Imagine, you know, a family cycle going around and around and around and around and around, getting to play over and over again, building up wealth. And then they say, you can play. I mean, half of us don't even want it. The rules ain't fair.
Yeah,
right?
we've never crossed the goal.
And so,
we've never collected 200.
And so the key thing is those things that you know, Rob, that you talk about, those things that I know that we talk about. I mean, and Dom said it. I mean, we got to have these Saturday schools where they get the education outside of school. We're giving our youth that non-education education so they can build a better future. And the thing is, it ain't got to be all about us. Just because you plant the seed don't mean you guaranteed to see the fruit. And so we have to have those conversations. We have to have those training sessions. You know, that's something I'm trying to instill in my nieces and nephews. I want them to have a better life than I ever had. And so that's where we have to come together as men, so going right back to the first thing we talked about, as men, to really help uplift the community and say, we're going to do this and we ain't going to get paid for it. We might not get paid for it financially up front, but it's going to come back tenfold on the back end when the next generation rises up.
So our generation is definitely suffering from mental health issues. And we have been able to talk about mental health more openly here these past few years than I've ever seen in my life ever before. As we get ready to close out this show, gentlemen, how important is it for Black men to focus on their mental health? Because one thing I realized from this conversation, who you're dating affects your mental health. Your money affects your mental health. Your spirituality affects your mental health. All of this stuff, the food you eat affects your mental health. All of this stuff is affecting us in a way. Tell me from you all's perspective, you all's opinion, how important is it and where are we going from here? I'm going to start with Lewis, go to Dom, and with you, Josh, and then we'll close out the show.
I've learned over the last 2 months, right, that it's not just important, it's essential to my survival. You know, and I think, you know, everyone know kind of what I went through going into Johnston, going into that position. I didn't think my mental health would be affected as much as it was. So even starting the job, I felt like I had been there a month. And after the first month, I felt like I'd been there a year. And not only did I feel, again, that isolation, I felt lonely. I felt like I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. I can't let everybody down, right? I mean, it was like, it just kept packing on. And I didn't process this with anybody. And I think that, you know, and then it was like, I can't continue this. I can't continue to feel this way and go into this position wanting to be successful and not talk about it.
Yeah.
And I remember driving home one day and I was listening to like Jay-Z. It was like a random Jay-Z song. It was about like his mama or something. I remember like tearing up. Like, I got to call my mom. And I did. And we had an amazing conversation that started my process of getting some of this stuff out, man, and truly looking at my mental health and how I eat and how my exercise and my walking and my, just all of those little things, man, affect, our well-being. And if you don't look at your mental health and where you're at in life and where you want to be, and you know, then you have clarity, you better.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people depending on us.
Yeah.
Dom?
I'm with Lou. Completely essential. It's so important. Like, okay, y'all might Lou know me from when I was a lot younger. Temper, horrible.
Terrible.
Horrible. Anything, I'm gonna fight right now. Fight 20 of y'all, I'll fight all y'all. What's happening? And it was I found out it was a mental health thing. It was a trauma thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mad even with the stuff with my wife. I was mad at my wife for stuff my mom did. She'd do something. She's like, why are you mad? And I didn't know why I was mad. So it wasn't until I started talking to somebody and getting the help. And
Are mad about losing a parent. I lost the father. I know you lost your mom.
And then I was mad at the world. Yeah. So then once I started getting that help, and then it sounds so crazy and lame. I got one homeboy, and he always smiling. I was like, bro, what? My homeboy Josh, he hugs. Mm-hmm. And he was like,
he get the best hugs too.
Yeah, thank you.
Josh get the best. He do.
This my man. He was my best man in my wedding.
No, we ain't talking about Josh. This Josh.
He's my best
Josh
man
and
in my
Nas.
wedding and everything. He hugged me one day. I teared up, and he was like, we need this from each other. So then I passed it to other people. I see one of my homeboys.
I give him a hug.
Let me call. I'll come scoop you up. Yeah. It's just me and you. We gonna hug. You could cry. You could tell me you hate this job because you gotta know something.
I say I love you. I say I love you to the homies now too.
We gotta be the strong ones as the fathers and the black men in the front, but then we also gotta be each other's backbone. So that's why I feel like even if talk to somebody or even talk to your homeboy, your pastor, somebody's gonna listen and keep your secrets without judging you.
Yeah. Josh?
So, I mean, just piggybacking off what they're saying, you know, we have to break the perception of what it means to be a man, because a man is still a human. Mm-hmm. And with that, you know, I'll admit for me in regards to mental health, for a while, I didn't think I needed it because I was moving. My life was going ahead. I was doing stuff in my career. I was successful, etc. And I honestly remember having a discussion with my wife, and I was like, you know, you need to get some mental health, you know, talk to a therapist or something. And she was like, why don't you do it? And I said, well, shoot, I said, ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm moving forward. And the moment I said it in the back of my head, my brain said, damn, you probably need therapy. That's a very hubristic statement, you know, just ain't nothing wrong with me, you know. And I got therapy, and I'll admit I'm in therapy since October of last year. One of the best things that I've been doing. And
did you feel like you needed a black therapist, Josh?
At first, yes. But I had to. But it was hard to find one. First of all, here in Iowa, and then second, I actually wanted to challenge myself. I actually don't feel comfortable around white women. And so that's actually a real fear of mine, white women. So I said, I'm going to get me a...
He's from down south.
I only see that on Blackish. So
yeah.
He's from down south.
Yeah. And so...
that's real for a lot of black men.
Yeah. And so I got one. And I'll admit, though, since you break that up, you know, the first... Like 3 months, I wasn't even talking. I was just like stoned, just like, oh, like, I don't know you, lady, like,
And I felt like I was smarter than mine.
Yeah. And then we finally had a breakthrough where I, you know, I had to tell her, like, I feel like I can't trust you. I've been through a lot of stuff, falsely accused stuff by people that look similar. And so it's like, and I did this to challenge myself, but maybe this isn't like the most help. And then she talked about being Palestinian. I'm like, oh, super. All right. You look, you know, I just kind of break down walls. And we had a real conversation. And since then, you know, we've had a lot of real talk and things from my childhood, middle school especially, that have affected me over the years in the way I interact with people, how I approach people. So, but, you know, we have to look at, and I'm saying what I'm saying about myself to say, you know, when I hear people are triggered or trauma, I never really got that stuff. Because, again, my grandfather, I grew up on a farm. Man, we worked through, you know, we worked hard. Yeah. And so, you know, you work through that stuff and you be a man. That's all I ever heard from my grandpa.
Tighten up.
Exactly. That's all the stuff I heard.
And I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, working through that, having those conversations, breaking down the things I've been through, have been life-changing, helping me to be a better person, seeing some things that I thought I missed, and really breaking, again, understanding that trauma doesn't mean that you're not doing something, but there's still so many things, especially in our communities, that we've been affected by that affect the way we interact with people, affect the way we view people, and getting that mental health you need is very therapeutic, because in most communities, at least where I'm from, there are only two solutions in the Black community: pray and vote. That was it. Pray and vote. That was it.
Holy oil.
That's it.
Holy oil.
And so we have to understand that there's many ways to solve a problem, and talking with others about it, breaking down those stigmas of what a man is supposed to be, can really help us go a long way as a community.
So thank y'all so much for watching. Shout out to our guests, and shout out to Lou, who will be back joining us as a host on the Urban Impact Show. Thank you, Mr. Dominique Davidson, Mr. Joshua V. Barr.
Petition coming soon.
So thank y'all. Shout out to Matthew King for being our engineer for today's show, running the cameras and all of that stuff.
Appreciate you, Matt.
Hal Dixon, our executive producer for the Urban Impact Show. This show was strictly about Black men. And I know some people are going to watch and say, what about the Black women? I'm glad you asked. Next week, it'll be all Black women. It'll be things all Black women. They'll have my sister, the owner and operator of Drop Experience.
Merle Hay Mall.
Go check it out over there.
I was in there early before Merle Hay. I got special delivery to work. But.
That's hilarious.
When they gonna get vegan food, Rob?
So what?
The vegan.
Shout out to Luana from the Iowa Coalition for Collective Change.
Shout out to J Pair.
They'll definitely be there. Also, shout out Dewana from Iowa Urban Media will be there, and then Colo, Miss Courtney will be on the show.
That's my heart there, Rob.
Well,
Courtney,
next week, and they're going to be talking about all things Black women. Black women are going through a lot. Some, some don't. Some feel like men don't understand. When they're pregnant. Some men don't understand their emotions, or where they're coming from, and so we're going to talk about it. Shout out to you, the viewers, for watching, for stay tuned with us. And I'll say this to all of our Black men watching: we love you, and we look forward to working with you. We support you, and we look forward to seeing y'all next week for the All Black Women Show. Peace.
All right.
All right.